Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. I have a very, very tragic story that I'm going to be sharing with you today. It is the story of a young 21-year-old entrepreneur. She was a Baltimore salon owner, and days before her life was taken, she told police that she was afraid for her life. Okay. This story is on BET, and this young entrepreneur is said to be a go-getter. She ran her own salon in Baltimore. She's dead. She's dead after she told them she feared for her life because there was an incident at her salon just a little bit before her life was taken. Her name is Destiny Harris. She was 21 years old when police responded to a shooting at her place of business, the Madame D Beauty Bar, on Saturday, December 21st. So we're only looking at 5 days ago that her life was taken. When Baltimore City Police arrived at the business on North Milton Avenue, shortly after 6 p.m., they found Harrison suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Now, any of you who have been following this story, you know that her place of business was already broken into, and it was a young black male and a young black female who were apparently boyfriend and girlfriend. They had already broken in, stole a lot of merchandise, and essentially beat her down, stumped her down, and all of this. Okay. It says the victim was taken to an area hospital where she later died. 12 days before her death, Harrison's business was broken into. She filed charges against two people who lived near her salon after she caught them in the back of her business stealing merchandise. Now, they were stealing weaves and bundles and just different things like that. And it says the suspects allegedly fled with $3,000 worth of expensive hair extensions that she sold at her salon. Now, this is some heinous mess that we continue to hear over and over in the so-called black community. Apparently, the other two, or at least the female, was struggling in business herself, doing something similar, and she wasn't doing as well. So you can see where there was already a mindset of jealousy that was probably established. I saw a meme not too long ago that said, it went along the lines of, usually before some type of crime is committed against a person, there was some type of jealousy or envy that was already present before a person took it to the level of murder. Okay. That is what we're seeing happen in this case. Now, it wasn't said that they were the ones who committed the murder as of yet. From what I'm reading, I don't know if the story has been updated as of yet, but these were the people who robbed her 2 weeks before. Okay, so let me read a little bit more of this. Okay, after they fled with all this expensive stuff, the suspect said that, I'm sorry, not the suspect, but the victim said that she was afraid for her life and her business. She told a court commissioner that she knew one of the suspects and that they had a violent background. Oh my goodness. That's a shame. She knew one of them. Any of you who have been following this channel for any length of time, especially in years prior, you know that I've always talked about what's going on in the black community, and that we can sometimes be each other's worst nightmare and worst enemy. And the fact that she knew someone, knowing somebody doesn't mean a thing these days. Folk don't care if they know you. My husband shared the story about when we lived in the city of Detroit, and this was before we met too. On the west side of Detroit, he had taken a relative to a store, and it was pretty late at night. I'm thinking it was between 11 and 12 at night, and they went to a party store. And when the relative was inside the store buying whatever, my husband sitting out in his vehicle, waiting for them to come out, and he sees this guy approaching. He's coming over to him, and he knew he was about to get him. And so when the guy gets over there, he recognizes my husband. He says, "E, is that you? Is that you?" He said, "Man, I was about to get you." Now imagine if that man had been, or that brother had, that dude had been like the person who knew this young woman, who didn't care if they did know you. In that case, because the fella did know my husband, he decided not to do what he was going to do that night in the city of Detroit. But in this case, knowing this young woman didn't do a thing to stop them from burglarizing her, stomping her down, hurting her, and who knows if they took it further. Who knows? She did say that she knew them and they had a violent past, you see. Okay. All right. This is really, I'm sorry, family, but this kind of stuff, regardless to how many times we hear of these things, is so incredibly sad. It says the suspects were charged with the assault, theft, and burglary, but there has been no arrest for her murder. You see, police said there were other people inside the salon at the time of the shooting and are hopeful someone will come forward with information. Okay, I hope they do. Somebody got to know something. Please come forward. We need to get these demonic souls here. They need to pay for their crime. There's no doubt about that. In the name of whatever. This, I'm just reading what someone has here. They say in the name of JC, and I don't roll with that name. But anyway, I'm going to cut away from the article because the rest of it is just other rhetoric about what's going on. They're trying to raise money for her funeral expenses. The young lady, no doubt, had a lot of money already, but the issue may be that her family may not have access to that money in her death. That's one thing that we as so-called black people don't do enough of. Not all of us, but not enough of us know how to, this is sad, family. Not enough of us know how to make sure that our ducks are in a row, or that our business is taken care of before passing away, so that it's not as difficult for family members to know how to deal with these things. Now, there is a GoFundMe for this young lady, and they're just raising money for her expenses. It looks like they've exceeded their goal, which is a wonderful thing to, lighten the load for the family. But nonetheless, this is a very tragic story. But I'm going to talk about how it is in the so-called black community that we as a people, and some of y'all probably get tired of hearing this, how rough things are with us dealing with each other. But when we don't pay attention to these things, this is how you fall victim to these sorts of things. In my opinion, from what I've read and heard about this young lady, it seems as though she's made a good life for herself. Okay, Destiny Harrison has made a good life for herself. She's earned a lot of money. She's a hard worker, so she was entitled to that, and no one had a right to take that from her because they were jealous. But this spirit of jealousy and betrayal is so off the chain with our people that we better start paying very close attention. We have this thing where we're focusing, a lot of our people are focusing so much on what others are doing, these other races. We're talking about that all the time. And we are forgetting that enemies come in black and white, right? And I've seen a lot of people over the years to say that most of what they know that has been done to them has been by people who look just like them, you see. And I could venture to say the same thing. Now, the systematic stuff, we know who that is because they're doing it to all of us. Now, we have had white people or Gentiles do things as well, but nothing on this scale. And they have been up to their same old tricks, in which I'm not talking about them in this. I'm talking about what we are doing to each other. We have enough talk about what they're doing on this channel and many other channels. We know what the people of this world are doing to us as a people, but let's talk about what we are doing to each other. You see, so much focus is on those that are without, to where this young woman fell victim to those within, those who look just like her, somebody who knew her, who couldn't have enough compassion on her to look at her beautiful face and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this to you. It's like a coldness. This is why the scripture says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. This is why you can look at someone who looks just like you, who ain't did nothing wrong to you, who ain't doing nothing but trying to make a good life for herself and her child. That's all she's did. That's all she done. And you decided to take her life, whoever you are. Now, it was said that when this shooting was taking place, there were other people around. So somebody has seen something. Someone has seen something. And if I'm not mistaken, although this article, I don't see it in this article, but it seems like her daughter was present when all of this took place. People have called her a wonderful girl. She's an entrepreneur, a go-getter. So many wonderful things have been said about her by her family and others. She built this business from the ground up. She didn't buy an existing business. She didn't do any of that. She started from the ground up. And this is the thanks she gets from another so-called Negro. Very tragic story indeed, family. Very tragic indeed. Until the mindset of our people changes, we will continue to see these stories. Stories such as this will continue to plague our minds. Some of us would rather just forget about these things, forget about the Destiny Harris's 21 years old, shot in the head in her own place of business. Some of us would rather just think about green pastures and butterflies and the sun shining. We don't want to think about this kind of stuff right here. But nonetheless, someone has got to sound the alarm that you are not safe even among your own. You see, like I said, we keep focusing on what they are doing to us, but we need to start focusing on what we are doing to ourselves and to each other. That's what we need to start focusing on. And the people who did this to her, they are the ones that need to be ousted from our communities. Remember what I've been talking about? How we need to establish our own systems within our own communities. And if folk can't abide by it, they got to bounce. Now, I know it's easier said than done, but you have to start somewhere. You have groups out there that are doing it, like the Detroit 300 and the community, what was that other group down in Texas? Community engagement activists or something like that. These are people who are saying, look, within our communities, I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can do to get the crime out and to protect the people who want to do right in the community. We need to focus on those things, getting ourselves together, and that way we don't have to call on other people to come in and clean up our mess in our communities because we can do it ourselves. All right, family, on this story, I'm going to say that is all for now. And enjoy the rest of your day. I know this is not the best of news to be reporting, but enjoy the rest of your day, family. With that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.